Are you trying to get rid of fungus gnats? Those annoying little black flies that seem to spread across your houseplant collection and get all up in your face when they're flying around the room. I'm going to show you a really easy and effective way to get rid of them, one that I use myself. I'll also share with you a bonus spray that I use to tackle other pests using a similar method. So what are they? They are sciurid flies. There are many different varieties out there, however we commonly know them as fungus gnats. They generally like to live around soil because that's where they lay their eggs, in moist soil. They only have a lifespan of about 2 to 4 weeks depending on the conditions that they're in. So although that doesn't sound like a lot, they are very good at reproducing and spread very fast. So it's really important that if you do notice them, you tackle them as soon as possible. So the good news is fungus gnats don't actually harm your established plants. Unlike other pests that tend to bite into the leaves and chew to get the sap or just to chew the leaves, you won't find that with fungus gnats. They will lay their eggs in the soil and their larvae will eat dead or decaying material. The one caveat to that is if you've got any seedlings or cuttings that might be soft type or delicate cuttings with new roots, the larvae can potentially damage those. So if you've got any of those, just be careful with those, but don't worry too much about your established plants because they won't be harmed. The main reason that you might want to get rid of them is just because they're a nuisance and they're not very nice to have them flying around the home. So there are a number of different approaches that you might use to control fungus gnats. Some will be preventative to stop them from getting into your houseplant collection in the first place, and others will be to remove them when you've noticed them in and around the soil of your plants. So if you've got them, you've noticed them around your houseplant collection and you're watching this video to find out how to get rid of them, you're going to want to do two things. You need to tackle the larvae that are in the soil and stop them from becoming adult flies and then spreading further. And then we also want to stop the existing adult flies by trapping them and getting rid of them so that they can't continue to spread either. So to treat the soil and get rid of the eggs and the larvae, I found hydrogen peroxide to be really effective. Even after just the first treatment, I noticed a significant drop in the number of fungus gnats around the houseplant collection. This is a 3% hydrogen peroxide solution. Other percentages or strengths are available. Whatever you use, it still needs diluting down to make sure that it's safe for the plants but still effective against the pests. This was $5.99 from Amazon for a 500ml bottle. You can buy it in hardware stores, the cleaning aisle of supermarkets, but if you've got a lot of plants then you might want to buy it online where it would be more cost effective to get a larger bottle to treat the plants that you've got and potentially have enough to continue with retreating them as you need to. As mentioned, it does need diluting down to make sure it's safe for plants, but there are a number of other benefits to using hydrogen peroxide. So not only will it tackle the fungus gnat eggs and larvae, it will hopefully also get rid of any other nastiness that might be in the soil that you're not aware of. It will also act as a fertiliser, so it will oxygenate the soil and help with stronger root growth and stronger plant growth. And I've noticed, or I would say I've noticed, my plants are maybe a bit more lush or greener after using this too. So there's a lot of other benefits to it. As mentioned, it does need diluting down because it can be a herbicide if it's not diluted enough. If it's too strong, it can damage or kill plants, so bear that in mind when you are using it and mixing it for your plants. So that being said, I did start with this originally, which was the 500ml bottle, but I've got tens, if not hundreds, of houseplants in my collection. So this only did a small amount. So it worked out more cost effective to buy a larger bottle, which this is a 5 litre bottle of hydrogen peroxide, 3% solution again. While this might seem excessive, if you can see on the camera, to treat all of my collection, I've actually used half of this bottle already. So that's 2.5 litres used in one treatment for the whole collection, and that's been diluted down to about 1 part to 4 parts, so significant dilution there as well as. And now I've got half of the bottle left to do a second treatment in about 4 to 6 weeks, or it's probably actually coming up soon. So I'll be doing a second treatment shortly with the rest of this, so it can be more cost effective to buy in bulk, and then you know you've got it there to treat your plants as needed. We'll also use this for the bonus bug spray that I'll show you later in the video. This was about $15.99 for this 5 litre bottle as opposed to the $5.99 500ml bottle. So 10 times as much for only 3 times or less than 3 times the price. Now one thing that I found confusing before I started to treat my plants was the amount of different measurement units that people were using in one recipe for their solutions. So crossing over between gallons and ounces and millilitres and cups and all sorts of different things. So that makes it really challenging to scale up or scale down if you need to do that, if you've got more or less plants than what solution you're perhaps watching someone make. So I've tried to keep this really easy by using a rounded system and using one system of measurement for this whole process. So we're using metric, which we've got a litre jug here. We've got 800 millilitres of water in here, and I'm going to top it up with 200 millilitres of hydrogen peroxide. So that is a 1 part hydrogen peroxide to 4 part water dilution. As mentioned, this is really effective, as I've noticed from using it myself on my houseplants. You can make it a little bit stronger if you want to. As mentioned, just be careful you don't want it too strong because you don't want it to harm your plants. You can make it weaker if you choose to, but using this sort of method of measurement, a litre, it's super easy to change the proportions if you want to, as well as scale up or scale down. So previously I was using a 2 litre watering can, so I was then using 400 millilitres of hydrogen peroxide and 1600 millilitres of water. So it's really easy to increase it or decrease it depending on how many plants you need to treat. So here is the solution. It's as easy as that. This is a litre of solution, as mentioned. It's very full, so I'm going to hold it really carefully. I've got the 200 millilitres of hydrogen peroxide mixed in with the 800 millilitres of water, and now it's ready to use. So I'm going to water one of my plants with it just to show you, or at least to listen to, the effect that it has. So I've got this plant which I've just picked up from behind me in the shop, this Calathea majestica white star. As you can see, the lovely green and white leaves with the pink blush across them. And all I'm going to do is just pour the water in as if I was watering the plant, but give it a really good watering to make sure the I've just poured it all over the floor as well, just to make sure that the water goes all over the soil so that all of it is treated to get rid of any nasty things that might be in there, along with any fungus gnats. So now that the solution is working its way through the soil, I'm going to move this a little bit closer to the microphone just so that you can hear what's going on and see if you can hear that sort of fizzling that I spoke about as the solution does its work. Bear with the camera, it might go a little bit blurry as this gets closer, but listen out for the sound I was talking about. So I think that's captured some of it. I could see some of the sound bars going while that was nearby. So that's this plant treated now, and I'll probably retreat it again in another 4 to 6 weeks just to stop any other pests from setting up home in the soil and keep on top of it. So with treating your houseplants, it's really important to treat all of your houseplants, or at least all of them that are in the same vicinity, when you are trying to tackle pests, as you don't know how far pests have potentially spread between them. Particularly with fungus gnats, as we're talking about in this video, they can fly, so they can fly from pot to pot to pot and lay their eggs wherever they want to. So they could spread really quickly and across the collection. So treat them all and then retreat them together as and when you need to, as well as just to stay on top of the pest control and stop any reinfestations from occurring. So now you've tackled the eggs and the larvae in the soil, it's time to take care of the existing adults flying around the plants. So the best way to do this is using sticky traps, and there's lots of different versions of these that you can buy depending on how many flies you're trying to get rid of and the sort of aesthetic that you're going for as well as. So these are a little bit less conspicuous, which you can put in plant pots. These ones are a little bit more, maybe unsightly depending on where you put them, but these are very effective in terms of getting rid of large infestations if you've got lots of them, or maybe if you've got a large houseplant collection. So these ones are also more cost effective because you're getting a bigger piece which you can then stick up, maybe put it behind the houseplant collection so that it's out of sight, or mostly out of sight, but it's still going to attract the fungus gnats. These are really effective in getting rid of them, but also getting rid of any other flying pests that you might have around your home. You can also cut these down as well, so if you do want smaller bits, you can cut these down, and it's a little bit of a cheaper way to do it, and then put them in pots if you want them sort of more localised around your plant collection. These ones you can also buy in, as I said, less conspicuous forms, more like plant labels that you stick in the pot, and then it's right there where the fungus gnats will be in the soil, and then they'll just sort of be attracted to it and stick to it. They'll eventually die, and then you can get rid of them once you've collected up all the remaining adults. You can get these in different shapes as well, so I've seen them in butterfly shapes, flower shapes, leaf shapes, all sorts, just to fit in with that plant theme and make it less conspicuous. So you need to decide on what's best for you in terms of cost and how many plants you've got and how many flies you're trying to get rid of. So hopefully with both of these you'll be able to stay on top of your fungus gnat problem and get rid of any other nastiness that might be in the soil or any other flying pests that might be around your houseplant collection. The hydrogen peroxide solution for the soil and the sticky traps for the adults. So of course there are other methods that you can use to get rid of fungus gnats. You can try store-bought options such as powders or pellets that you can put on the soil or mix in the soil, where the active ingredient then works to get rid of the eggs and the larvae. You'll find these in generally cleaning aisles or hardware stores, or even online where you can probably get it for a good price as well, and different brands are available. One you might have heard of are mosquito bits, again where you do exactly that, put it on the soil, mix it in the soil, and then it works to get rid of any of the eggs or larvae. These don't just work against fungus gnats, but they'll work against any other sort of flying pests that might be in the soil or around your houseplants. Just be mindful, if you do have pets or children for example, that it does say that it's safe to use in those sorts of environments and around pets, as they can be more chemical based. So just bear that in mind if you decide to use something like those products or those sort of pesticide products. You can use biological controls as well, such as nematodes. So you can buy these in their sort of dormant form, usually online or from specialist plant stores or garden centres. You can then mix it with water, it wakes them up, and then water your plants much like we did with our solution, but then the sort of little nematodes work to get rid of the eggs and the larvae for you too. So adapting your watering habits can also act as a preventative to fungus gnats. So they like moist soil, which is where they'll come and lay their eggs. So if you can let the top of the soil of your plants dry out completely between waterings, you'll limit the opportunity they have to come and lay their eggs. You can also try watering from the bottom, either putting the water in the decorative pot or standing the plant in a sink or a saucer of water, letting it take up the water it needs, and then putting it back in its decorative pot. That'll hopefully keep the top of the soil dry. If you have plants that need consistent moisture, so the top is usually moist, then what you can do is try putting a barrier in place to actually stop the fungus gnats getting to the top of the soil. So things like sand will work really well for that. You can use plain sand, which is readily available from hardware stores and garden centres, or you could even try making it look a bit nicer if you wanted to by using decorative sands like coloured sands, again that you can buy from plant shops, garden centres, or even online. Also, plant best practice, getting rid of any dead or decaying plant material that might have dropped down and landed on top of the soil. This will attract fungus gnats, as that's the sort of thing that the larvae will eat. So get rid of anything like that as and when you see it drop onto the soil. So now onto the bonus pest spray that we talked about earlier. So this can be used against any soft-bodied pests like aphids, thrips, mealybugs, those sorts of things that might be on your plant stems or leaves that you just want to get rid of. We are going to make a litre solution just like we did before, so then again it's easy to scale up or scale down depending on how much you need, and it's really easy to make. So we're going to actually use the same base that we used earlier for the soil drench. So we've got the litre amount and we've used 800 millilitres of water, and then we'll have 200 ml of the hydrogen peroxide. So I've already used some of this. This is the original mixture we used earlier to water the plant, but this was, as I said, 200 millilitres of hydrogen peroxide with 800 millilitres of water, and that will be the base that we use. The hydrogen peroxide will already be one active ingredient and hopefully act to get rid of some of those pests already. To pack some extra punch, I'm going to add some Castile soap. You can use dish soap or liquid soap, but they do contain other ingredients or other chemicals as well as and possibly foaming agents like SLS. So this is naturally derived and doesn't contain any of those additional chemicals that might be in there. So I'm going to use this, but use whatever you have available. We're using 15 millilitres or 1 tablespoon to this litre solution. And then we're going to add some essential oils just to make it smell nice, but also the scent of the oils will act as a deterrent against some of the pests. So they don't like these strong smells, and the good thing is many of those smells are quite nice smells or clean smells depending on what your preference is. So I've got lavender oil here, which is what I've used, but you can also use things like tea tree oil, eucalyptus oil, citronella, lemongrass, which citronella is derived from, rosemary, for example. So there's lots of different ones that you could choose from if you add essential oils as well as. One thing to note when using essential oils is they do need to be used safely. Even though you are spraying this on plants, it's likely that you will still come into contact with them. either by mixing it or when you're spraying it, you don't know exactly where it's going to land. So with that in mind, never go above 1% of the total solution that you're making, which is in line with cosmetic standards as well. So any cosmetics with essential oils in should have no more than 1% of essential oil in them, just to ensure safety of the end user. So while these are naturally derived, they aren't always suitable for direct contact with skin, hence why it's good to dilute them and dilute them to certain levels. So I've used about 25 drops of this in this litre solution, so that's about a quarter of the bottle, or 2.5 millilitres. With this you can of course mix and match. If you wanted to use 2 different scents, you could do maybe 12 of one, 12 of another. It's up to you how strong you make it in terms of what you want it to smell like. So you could go up to 50 drops if you wanted to, half a bottle, but like I said, then it's going to get really, really strong. It's really up to what your preference is. Just don't go above that 10 ml mark to 1 litre of water, so that you stay within that 1% margin. And that's it. Once you've mixed it up, you've got the hydrogen peroxide, you've got the Castile soap, and you've got the essential oils. So you've got active ingredients in there to tackle the pests, to kill them, either the hydrogen peroxide killing instantly, the Castile soap eventually dehydrating those organisms, and then the essential oils acting as a deterrent with the strong smell. So hopefully you've got a number of different, a multi-pronged approach to getting rid of pests and stopping them from coming back to your plants. And now you've got your spray solution, it's time to treat the plant. So spray the plant thoroughly on top of the leaves, underneath the leaves, and down the stem. Often the pests will hide underneath the leaves, as you'll know if you've had pests on your plants before, so really target that area. You might find it beneficial to also treat the soil at the same time, so you can use the same solution that we used earlier for the fungus gnats to just clear the soil of any pests that might be in there at the same time you do the spray. Because I have noticed that sometimes when you spray leaves, if there are pests on it, like aphids for example, they can drop down and then they wait in the soil until the treatment is finished, and then you'll notice them back on the plant a few days later. So if you can tackle it all at once to get rid of the pests completely. If you're aware of any other methods that work against fungus gnats, then please do share them in the comments below so that others can try them out and hopefully benefit from them. I hope you found this video useful in helping you to tackle fungus gnats and get rid of any other pests that might be on your houseplants with the bonus spray. This still hasn't stopped fizzing, so hopefully that means this won't be a target for fungus gnats anytime soon. If you have found the video useful, please consider giving it a like and subscribing, as we'll have new plant related videos every week, usually on a Sunday. As always, thank you for watching Grow Your Wellbeing.